Hi everyone, I believe everyone will encounter this problem as you have watched earlier, whereby when you use your graphic card for a prolonged period of time, there will be dust accumulating on the blades and to your fin stack. And some of you might just take a brush to brush off the dust off the blades and such, but the dust might just caught to your fin stack. Else, you might use wet tissue to clean the blades and to dust off the fin stack using a brush. But when you use a wet tissue, right, often there are sticky substance that stays onto the blades itself. So for today, I'm just going to share with you specifically with these two Asus Tuf card, where I find out that it's brilliant that what Asus have done, just to share with you how I do the maintenance on this two card, which is the 4070 Ti Super and the 4080 Super. With this said, I'd like to thank Asus to have provided this card for me to share with you. Now, there will be another section once after the maintenance. I'll talk about how I do the undervoting. Before I proceed, a disclaimer: if you are uncomfortable with dismantling the Shroud and the backplate, please do not attempt to do this, you might damage the card. And why do I choose the Asus Tuf 4000 series card to talk about, where I find out that it's brilliant of what Asus have done? Let me just flip to the back. Starting off with the smaller card, which you can see here, right, the void sticker is only on the retention bracket. There are no stickers around it. Same goes to the 4000 series card. See, the void sticker is over here. So long you do not tamper this void sticker, it should be fine. I will first start off with the 4070 Ti Tuf. First thing, what I'll do is I'll dismantle all this ribbon pin that is connected to the fan and your ARGB. This is for the ARGB and this is for the fan. Okay, let me just turn on so that you can see properly. So what I'll do is I will remove off these two clips first. First thing to do, as you can see, right, the clip itself, you can just push it down. See? So when you push it down, right, you're releasing the lock. And using your fingernails, okay, it takes a bit of patience, just push it out. So do it on both ends. Slowly wiggle. See, I'm doing a wiggle motion to push the pin out, which I've done one side. This is the other side. See, it's off. Apply the same to the other one. Now, please do not hold the ribbon cables and to pull, right? You might just break the thin ribbon cables. Do not do that. Just make use, as you can see right over here. See, there's a catch over there. You can simply just press this down, okay, as I showed you before. Press this down, use your fingernails to push it out from the socket. So right now I'm just going to do the second one, which is this. Okay, maybe I should put it this way. Yeah. So I push it down with my fingernails, okay, probably one side, and I grab the cable out. Should I just put it this way? Yeah, better. See, I'm gripping my fingernails at the both ends. If you can see, okay, let me just zoom in. Okay, I'm pressing this down and to wiggle it out. See, it just comes off like this. When you're wiggling out, right, make sure you press this so that it just come off. Once it's done, right, leave this apart. Next thing to do, take note on the peelers, which is here, 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 and these are the screw points. Okay, let me just zoom out. As mentioned, the peelers over here, and it's attached by these screws over here. Now, I will not dismantle this first. First thing I'll do, right, is actually the back, whereby you see that there is one over here, okay, which is connected to this screw. Then at the other end, which is here. Okay, there are 2 screws over here. So what I'll do is I will just remove the 3 screws that's needed. Now when you're removing, right, make sure you get the correct Phillip head. Right, this is very critical, especially for the back plate. Back plate, you will need a smaller Phillip head. For the rear, right, it's the bigger one. So I'll just remove, as mentioned, I'll remove this. Now do not lose these screws. Make sure to take your time not to rush things out. And the 2 screws over here. So I'll just do one first. Okay. Now at all times, right, don't leave up the card so high, because if the screws would to drop, it will bounce off and you'll just lose the screws. So the other one is over here. And another thing I need to mention is that when you're doing this, right, make sure that you're using a what do you call it? A mat. See, I dropped the screws, but I found it. So this is all is needed to take out. Next will be the back plate. As for the back plate, right, as mentioned to you, right, look at the peelers. Okay, I know here there's one over here and one over here. So I'll just proceed, change to a smaller Phillip head screwdriver, then unscrew. Now do this at a very slow pace and don't rush it, because if you rush it, right, you might just scratch the back plate. That would be very ugly. So once you've done that, right, release the rest, and it's best that you have a magnet kind of a screwdriver. That will be easier, as mine is not. So we've got to place some magnet. See, it's out. Again, don't lose it. Now all these screws are the same for the back plate. Okay, just to show you. Now for the back plate, right, is this screw. Okay, for the back, which is the PCIe slot, is this type of screws. It's different. So make sure you know which screw is to which screw. So I just put it this way. This is the back. Then you proceed to remove. Then towards the bottom. Now for the bottom, take a look again. These are the 3 pillars. So I'll just remove this. Same goes to here. And here. So once you've done all this, right, you will be able to remove off the back plate. Okay, let me just place it nicely. See, this is off. My correction, you can't remove the back plate, but you can remove the shroud. So what is needed, right? For the heatsink section, you can use a brush, tilt it this way, then you brush it down. So all the dust, right, will be on the mat, not back to the heatsink. So this is one way to clean it. Okay, just to illustrate. So this is actually how I clean it. Okay. Then as for the shroud, same thing, you can apply your brush and to dust it down. Now reason to remove this shroud, right, is because if you were to dust it this way together with the heatsink, right, as mentioned, the dust will go back to the heatsink, so do not do that. Best is to actually tilt it down and you brush it off. And for this side, right, turn it and to brush it so that all your dust will be down here and have something to wipe it clean. Now another thing is that some of you wanted to have white graphic card. So this is where the Tuf comes in very handy. You can remove off this shroud and to spray, and to, I would say, tape off the ARGB areas, which is down here and down here. Then you can spray the whole thing white. And for spray, right, I would recommend using plastic dip, because those you're able to peel off. If let's say you don't want it white, and you'll bring it back to the original how it looks like. I've done that before. Probably I'll show you in another video. So this is another. Now when you're placing it back, right, probably do some cleanup. You can use clean cloth and some damp water, right? Just, or should I say, just soak the cloth with water, right, and just to clean off all the dirt and such, including the inside. And yes, this you can replace the fans, but I wouldn't advise you to do so. If your card is under warranty, right, just piece it back together and send it back and have them to replace the fans for you instead of you doing it. Now, as some of you might go into details, yes, you want to spray the Shroud, white, you might want to take out the fans. So that I will not, be responsible about it if you want to do that. But I'm just telling you that this is possible to spray the card white. Now, before you put this back, right, I would advise next step is this contact point over here. If you can see. The PCIe contact point. As long time usage, right, this will tarnish, as in like there will be some debris sitting on the PCIe slot. So what you need to do is make use of an eraser. It is safe to do so. I've done this many times. So what you need to do, right, is just to take an eraser. Do not go cross. Just do this. This will bring back the conductivity and to get rid of all the dust and dirt that is sitting on the PCIe pins. So once you see, right, take a look. See, as you can see, right, there's some debris seated right at the inner. So if you use a eraser, right, see, it's going to go off. See? And once you're done with this, right, you can go to the other side. Take your time. Turn it over. Then you can clean it. See how clean it is compared to here. Now this is actually a pretty new card, so there isn't much, but there are still some oxidation, as in like, not oxidation, I mean the dirt, right, still reseated on the pins itself. So sometimes your card doesn't detect. It's mainly because of this PCIe pins. Take your time slowly. So once you've done that, right, do not just stop there. Take a brush, brush off all the debris. You can still see some stains over here. See? Not too sure if you can see. I'm just rubbing off the contact point. And you do not need a lot of force, because you just need to apply a bit of force, not really that much, just just sweep. And this is done. And once this is done, right, probably you need to actually clean out this area. Then you can place back the Shroud. For the illustration on most reviewers, right, they will just clip the pin itself, but I wouldn't do that. I would just put this back first. Starting off from the back. Once it's back, right, you know that the pillar are in line with all the screws. I'll just screw this back in place. Now this is going to take a bit of time. Hopefully that you will go through with me, because I wouldn't want to miss any step. Okay, you don't have to tighten it, it's just that hold on it, anchor point the screws to the pillar, because you might need to adjust the alignment for the back. So make sure that you don't over tighten it, like what I'm doing right now, just to anchor it down. Okay. Once you have all the screws in those respective pillar, see, I have not tightened it. Flip to the rear, which is here. Then you need to screw these points. As you can see, you still can adjust. So never over tighten your back plate to the pillars. Always do anchor point first. Okay, I'm just going to screw this in. Okay, again, don't tighten, as you have two more at the front over here. Now probably you might be asking, why am I wearing this here? I had a very deep cut. That's why I wouldn't want to show you the ugliness of my cut. That's why I'm wearing this glove on my index finger. Okay, here we go. I wouldn't want the screw to fall off, that's why I'm actually doing it this way. Because as mentioned, right, if you do lift this up too high, and if your screw happen that it doesn't go in line, right, and it drops, right, it might bounce off and you might lose the screw. So take note on this. See, accident do happens. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, and at all times, right, make sure you have a protective mat so that you will not scratch your cut. Once this is done, right, okay, I've done all, then I start to tighten. Not too tight, don't have to be too much, just enough to secure the whole Shroud. And when you're mounting, right, make sure you apply some pressure down, not too much, till you feel that the retention rate resisted, then you can stop. Don't over tighten it. Then once you have done this, okay, just to double check everything is securely mounted to the screws that you're dealing with. Now a trick to it, right, I know a lot of people will just do freehand like this. If you do this, right, your thread might just wear off. Make sure you support with the other finger down, and having this index finger, right, pressure down the screwdriver, then you screw. Alright, same goes to the side, or should I say the rear section. Now after you've done this, right, if you're not wearing gloves, right, I would not advise you to wear gloves to actually perform this. I know that you want to prevent prints, but you don't have a better grip, and this is actually a very costly graphic card. Don't do that. Make sure that, you know, once you've done all the screw down, right, without gloves, okay, clean all the points. As you can see, right, down here, see all the prints. I'm using a microfiber cloth to clean all this. Same goes to your back plate, okay, just to clean it. Don't use any water or such. You can just use a clean microfiber cloth to clean the surroundings. Same goes to the areas of the Shroud. Now especially for this, right, do not use rough cloth. make sure it's microfiber cloth so that you will not scratch the ARGB labeled area. Same goes to here. Then you can just go all around cleaning the whole shroud, and this is done. One last thing I forget to do: plug back the pins. Now why am I doing this last is mainly because if you to plug the ribbon to it and to mount the shroud, right, sometimes, see down here is quite taut. You might just break the ribbon cables over here. So do not plug this and to mount the shroud. Okay, I've tested that before. I have break the cables before. So make sure you plug the shroud back first in place, then you deal with the pin, or should I say deal with the cables. And it's quite easy to plug it back. See, you hear a click. Same goes to this. Done. Now coming to the 4080. Okay, same thing. Look for the pillar points. Okay, here, here, and here. And at the back, now slightly different, right? The back here, in fact, there are this screw over here. Okay, not this. Hold on, let me take a look. You probably need to take a look properly what you're unscrewing. Oh, okay. Sorry, my bad. It's this screw here and this two. That's all you need to take out. The rest you don't have to. And same goes to the pillar point. And again, if you want to dismantle, make sure you take out the two ribbon cables first. Because if you take this out and accidentally you pull too hard, right, and this is still on, right, you might just break the cables. In this section, I will share with you how I did my undervolt on my graphic card, and it only apply on NVIDIA 4000 series. Please do not apply this on AMD, it will not work. And is it safe to do undervolt? Yes, 100%. Reason being, right, by default the card is running at a very high voltage in order to pump the GPU clock speed, and that use a certain high temperature. If you undervolt, right, you were just pulling down the voltage but running at the same GPU clock speed with a lower temperature and with lower voltages, which save electrical bill. Now, application that you will need, there are a few which I will leave all the URL in my description. You can just click and to download all this application. Starting off with hardware info, when you download and install, this is what you're going to see. Basically, you will need to have the stats on all your the GPU itself. See all these stats. Next will be Afterburner. Afterburner, in fact, is a tool to do the undervolt. But when you're downloading this, right, make sure that you're downloading from the actual website, which is msi.com, nothing else. And during the process of installation, which I will show you in a minute, okay, which is this, make sure you also install another application that comes with it, which is the River Tuner Statistic Server. If you don't install this, right, you can't do the overlay to show stats while you're doing the benchmark. Now, next will be Firmark. This is a pre-check on your graphic card, as in like to stress your graphic card before you do the actual benchmark test, which I will show you later. I am using the Firmark 1. You can make use of Firmark 2 if you want to. There are two versions. Either one will work. Last but not least, which is the final benchmark after you've done all your undervolting and such, right? Make use of this 3D Mark timespy, which looks like this. See? Oops. A bit cranky here. Okay. Which is here. This timespy over here. This is for you to benchmark how stable your undervolting is. Once you've installed all the application needed, first thing to do is to launch the River Tuner. You can search for it, just type River, and this will show over here. Just click on it, and it will load. And when you load, right, you still can't see the application. Take a look at the lower right of your taskbar. See, this is River Tuner. Just double click on it, it will just appear. With this say, right, turn it on. Okay, the show on-screen display, turn it on, and to set this on-screen display field, leave this on. So put this one side. Next thing, launch the firmware. Set it at a appropriate resolution. For me is 1280 by 720. So I just run. This will just run on the background. Okay, let it run. Next, pull your hardware info and look under the section called GPU. Things is needed, which is your GPU temperature, which I will show you. It will be shown on the firmware. So once you know that you want to show this, right, do a right click, click on OSD RTSS settings. Then you can just click on show value. See, it shows the value on my firmware. And of course, show the label so you know what that is for. You can even change color if you want to. See, this changes the colors. Okay, probably I will just set this green. It's easier to see. Now, earlier on the river terminal, right, I mentioned about this over here, the on-screen display field. If you don't do this right, take a look at this stats over here. See, there won't be a black background to support, and it's very hard to read if there are wordings behind. So it's best to turn it on. And of course, you can change the size of it if you want to. See, bigger, smaller, etc. But for me, I'll just leave it this way. And of course, you can arrange where you want to place it. Right now, I'm just going to place it this way. Now, back to where I was. After pulling the first one, right, you want to pull the second one. You can continue on with this over here. But it's kind of small and it's kind of hard to navigate. So what I'll do is just click on OK. Go back to this section. Now it's up to you. This is for the memory junction temperature. Normally I will just pull the hotspot temperature, whereby it's the overall GPU die and your memory. So with this say, right, again, highlighting on this, do a right click. Okay. If you find that this is too long, I mean the wording, you can rename it. Probably I'll just rename this as GPU temp. It will be shorter. So you can see the stats, you know, a line. It's up to you. Okay, back to where I was saying about this GPU hotspot temperature. Probably I will just change the name again to hotspot temp. Okay, then do a right click, click on OSD RTSS. Now if you do click on this and this, right, see what happened? It shows on the first line. What you can do is set it to the second line. See, you go to the second line, and of course you can change the color, which I'm using green. I fast forwarded the process. As you can see, all is listed over here. Things that are very important, in fact, are listed here. So go according to this, as you will need to know what's the CPU temperature, the hotspot temperature on both the memory and your GPU die, followed by the GPU core voltage. This is very critical for you to adjust when you do the undervolt. And the clock speed, of course, and the power drawn. As you can see here, the default of this 4070 Ti Super tough card, which is drawing to the max, which is 285 watt. And this is the load whereby you do the benchmark. It will show you how much your GPU is being loaded. Now, for this GPU PCI-E plus 12 volt, this is very important too. Make sure that during the benchmark test, right, it doesn't drop drastically, as in, like, you know, having 11 or 11.04 or something like that. That would be very bad. And how I pull this, right, is actually through this stat over here. There's a pull down. Okay, this is original how it looks like. So when you pull down, right, you will see this GPU PCI-E plus 12 volt input voltage. Again, do a right click as mentioned to your OSD RTSS settings to pull this out. Then next will be, of course, your fans. Once you have all this ready, right, you're ready to go. So you can see the stat right now. The GPU, right, just to ensure that it's running by default, just click on this reset on the afterburner. So once you've done this, right, you can close this, and to run the 3D Mark first. Okay, a bit crankier. So here on the benchmark, and to run timespy. This will take some time to generate and to collect info, and it will run. So while it's loading, right, your stat will show on the screen itself. See? It's going to take some time to load. Just let it run. And throughout the whole run, right, make sure you see that there are no tearing, no smudging and such. See, it's running. And while you're doing this, right, take note on the core voltage. See, it's running at 1 volt. Okay? And the GPU is running at this max speed over here. And the power drawn and such, it will list over here. This is the second stage. First stage I passed. Now, something I have to highlight. When you're doing the benchmark test by default, right, take note on the GPU temperature, take note on the hotspot. Then, of course, the core voltage, which is at 1 volt. You know that this is the max out in order to achieve this GPU clock speed and the power drawn. And of course, make sure, be very sure that this plus 12 volt input, right, does not go below 12. If it's 11.04, right, please go and check your, shut down your machine and check your connection of your cables to the graphic card and to the PSU. In timespy, there are a total of 4 tests, which was not shown here as I want to fast forward. By the end of the time, right, you will get this results over here. And if you to notice, right, from this graph over here, right, you see you get inconsistency. It's dropping and such. And this is actually by default. Now, as mentioned to you, to highlight on the max clock speed, you can generate the result through the web and to ensure that that is the max speed. And earlier on, I did mention to you to take a look at the core voltage, which is 1 volt. So when you have these results, right, you can pull down and see what's the max speed. Can we just pull this up? See, it's 2760, but inconsistency of 2656, and this 2760 megahertz, right, in fact, is running off from 1 volt. Now back to the undervolting right now, so you can close this. To undervolt, run your firmware. Okay, this is a must. You must have a base to run at the background before you do the undervolting. Go to your afterburner, which you can see here. Click on the reset. Then, for my style, right, people would just pull based on, okay, let me just pull this out. Now, if you to click this over here, right, it will come out with this graph. A lot will be fiddling with this way. Okay, a bit by a bit. But for me, right, I just go all the way down. Alright, once you have this, right, just click on the check mark. Now, as you know that to run the max 2760 megahertz, you need 1 volt. So on this graph over here, right, it tells you the clock frequency, as you can see over here. And over here, right, are the mini voltage. So at that moment, it's running at this, which is this. Okay, at the 1000 mark, this will run to a max of clock speed 2760. So what we are going to do is to pull it down. So let's try bit by bit. Okay, I would say that let's try 975. Okay, and to pull this up all the way that you see 2760. Now this is way too up. So what I will advise, this is actually 2764. I would advise to pull it down 1 knot. Okay. Yep. 2757. And to click on OK, you will see this graph over here. Which means to say, right, at this speed here, right, you'll be consistent at the mini voltage of 975. And a given overclock, I should say, though this is Undervolt, but a given bonus on the memory clock, right? Trust me, you can just set 1000, not more than that, right? If you set more than that, right, you can't boot your system. So make sure that it's 1000. You can try to do further up, which is 1002, 1003, but I have weakness, I mean, in the sense that I've set it to 1003 and the whole thing crashed and I can't boot up my system. So on the safe line, right, 1000 should be fine. Then click on the check mark. Once you have done this, right, you can close this, then run the fur mark again, which is this 3D mark, not fur mark, sorry. This will take some time to load. I'll let it load. Again from here, okay, let me just close this graph. Do another run on the timespy, whereby this, right, is where you have done the undervolt. If this passes, right, you can proceed lower. Now, as you can see, right, when you start running, take note on the stats over here. See, earlier on was 2760, but right now I'm able to do 2775, around there. It hovers around there. And look at the temperature, which is lower. Earlier on, the hotspot was like 71. Right now it dropped drastically, and the pulling of voltage, which is lower. Probably I'll let this run until the second round, and to show you that will be more tedious. That will show you the power drawn and such. This is the second test. Now, as you can see, right, earlier on, running at 2760 megahertz, it pulls up to 284, nearing 285 watt. See how much that it drops drastically. And if you have not noticed, right, the RPM of the fans have dropped. And at all times, right, make sure that this bus 12 is always at 12 volt or above, never below it. If below it, right, then probably something wrong with the connection of the GPU. Now, once this whole test have run and it's okay, right, then you can proceed on to drop further down. Now, in each benchmark on this 3D mark, which is the timespy, right, please look at the graphic content at the background. If you feel that there are some tearing, you know, smudging or such, right, then you will have to pump the clock speed. Sorry, you have to pump the voltage. Reason so, right, there is not enough voltages for it to sustain at the speed that you set, which causes all the tearing and smudging and such on the actual run. And of course, after this, right, when you have done all the settings correctly, make sure you run your games and such, just to make sure that it's stable, because these are static tests for your info. Okay, I'm just going to skip this, and to bring you back to the actual thing, I know this is going to pass. Now, if this is okay, everything is alright, proceed on to the next step, which is to lower down the voltage. So again, make sure you know your mark, which is this. Earlier on, I've set it to 975. So go bit by bit. Every time you want to tune, right, make sure that you set the reset. And of course, you need a background to run, which is this. Okay. Do not do your settings, right, without a graphic background running. Okay. Now, just to show you something, while you're doing the undervoting, right, okay, do a reset. I will just pull the core clock all the way down, click on OK, then I'll do the undervoting. Now, take note on this. I know that this graphic card can go 0.96 to run at 2.7 gig, which is 2760 megahertz. If I were to draw below it, right, take a look at what happened. Okay, let's say I'll do 935. Okay, 935 millivolt, and I'll pull all the way up to 2760, which I will just do 275 7. Okay, got it. You will see that, you know, there are tearing already. You can see that there are tears. See, if you notice, it's not smooth. If this is a syndrome, right, when you see, right, see all those sparkling over at the side, this is tearing. So you have this, right, you have to reset. See, when I reset, all the sparkle is gone. You know that 935 is not able to cater to run at 2760. So what I'll do is reset this, pull this clock down, then to pull it up. Let's say 235 can't do, right, I'll do 950. Then if let's say this works, right, go and run your time spy. Make sure it's a full run. Observe the background. If it's okay, you can set that, I mean, voltage and the frequency. But for this, right, I'm very sure that if I were to set at 950, right, at the clock speed of 2760, right, time spy will crash. That's for sure. So I will set, okay, this is only based on this card which I've tested before I share with you. I know that it can do 960 millivolt to this, and I'll just run. Okay, and again, once you have done this, right, bonus on the memory, set it to 1000, then click on OK, then go and run time spy. Okay, this time round, okay, I'm just going to close this. This time round, I'm going to show you the full run on the time spy, and it's going to be a bit fast forwarded. Here we go. Now there are times whereby when you run all this Undervolt, right, your system will just crash and reboot. Do not worry about this. Everything is safeguard. All is needed is just to reset the figures, and make sure you take down all the figures that you have set. Don't forget them. It's best that you set it a spreadsheet and write down like the GPU temperature, the hotspot, the mini voltage, or should I say voltage, core voltage, and the frequency and such. Take down all these readings before you do any settings, so that you can refer to when you are running the benchmark, or if it crashes, right, you can refer back to what you have set. Okay, let me just close this. Now I'm just going to run a full run on this and to show you what's going on. So let it run. As mentioned to you, during the benchmark, make sure you take a look at the background, what's going on. Make sure there are no tearing, no smudging and such. And you will notice a great significant lowering down of temperature. Not only this, you're using less voltages, which is right now 0.96 and running at a clock speed of 2760 and at a lower voltage. And make sure again the plus 12 volt input, right, it's at 12 or above, not below that, and you will find that your graphic card will not generate too much noise based on the fact that the fan RPMs, right, is at a lower RPM. Results are out. Take note on the overall score, and I deliberately zoom in to show you this, so you can slowly take down the scores on your end when you're fiddling with your graphic card. And as you can see the graph over here, right, now the top over here, the purple line is the CPU clock frequency, the pink one is the GPU clock frequency, and the yellow one is the GPU memory clock frequency. As you can see here, right, it's very consistent. See, so throughout the whole run, right, the card is actually performing to its max. As compared to later on when I show you the default, right, there will be lots of jaggeds and lots of, you know, drop lines and such. Now, having said this, right, if you do not feel satisfied with all these drops over here, see the minor drops, you can further enhance it. How do you actually do it? Well, go back to your afterburner. You can reset the whole value again. instead of having it to run, okay, the previous round that we done, right, is at 960 millivolt. See, 960 millivolt at 2760. So what you need to do is to pump your millivolt up to the next 965 or to 970. But before you do this, right, you need to reset. And when you do a reset, make sure you run something at the background, as in like some graphical content. I will explain to you why. Take a look at this graph over here, right? And observe if I were to do this. Okay, this was like that. If I am going to run the graphical content, okay, it's running, and I am to shake a bit. Now, if I were to click this, right, take a look at the graph line. See, it tilted. So, do not configure afterburner configuration without a background running. Okay, so once you have done this, right, okay, you can continue to do the settings as mentioned to you. Now this is going to pump at 1000. Okay, once this is done, right, you can come back to this graph line here. Now earlier one was 960, so right now you're going to pull 965. No, this 970. Okay, probably pull 970. Then you pull the line all the way to 2760. Now this is 2764. So what I'll do is actually I'll pull one notch down, which is 2757. Kind of hard to control over here. Okay, that's good. Then once you've done this, right, click on check mark, then run your Cinebench again. So once you've done that, right, I mean not your Cinebench, run the 3D mark, the timespy again, and you can see the graph, and you can compare the scores. If it is better and these are all flat line, you're happy with it, don't stop there. Play some games and see whether it crash. If it doesn't crash, next will be to save the profile if you're happy with it. So assuming this is the settings that you want, okay, to save the profile, there are all presets over here. What you need to do, make sure that the profile, right, the lock over here is unlocked. Now this is locked, you can't do any modification. This is unlocked. With the unlock, click on the save button, save on any of the profile that you wish to put. For me, I'll place it 5. I have a reason for that. Once you have that, right, test out your profile, reset, see this reset, and trigger. Now for this, you don't need to have background graphical stuff because it's already done previously. It's just that to load your save profile, see? And if you want this to keep loading when you boot up the system, right, to Windows, right, make sure you check this rate so that before booting up on Windows, right, the default will be this way. Okay, if you don't check on this startup over here, right, it will always stay at this way. So if you check on this and to load the profile, every time when you reboot the system, right, your profile will be this. Now, as I mentioned to you, why I set the profile 5 instead of 1, 2, or 3, I have a reason why. Next thing you need to do, right, because this is what the graphic card can cater for. Okay, let me just push to the compare results online. Okay, as you can see here, right, the average and the clock speed. See, the clock frequency, right, is max at 2760. Now, this is the max of what this card can do. I would want you to actually do a second profile, which save on 1. And how to do the profile 1 is to check the specs of your graphic card. Okay, click on specification and scroll down, look for the clock boost. Engine clock over here, see? This is the overclock mode. It's like ideal for this graphic card to run at, and it's not at its capability. The capability is actually 2760. It all depends on the lottery slot of your die. So take note on this. Make sure that you set another profile which is by default recommended, which is 2670. So again, knowing that this is the max recommended speed, I will do out another profile. Again, bring up the graph, reset this, and make sure you run something on the background when you do this. When this is running in the background, you can proceed on to do the second profile, which is the recommended boost speed. So right now I'm just going to reset, then I'll pull this down, the clock speed all the way, the core clock speed all the way, then to set the memory at 1000. By the way, this 1000 is a bonus, so it doesn't harm that much. I mean, it doesn't harm at all, so just use it. Now with this say, right, the next thing to do is actually to do the down clock. Now I wouldn't know which figure to do. My guess is actually 925 millivolt, 925 millivolt, which I'm going to select here, and to pump all the way to 2670. And again, if it's too over, right, which right now here is 2671, if I'm not wrong. Okay, 78. So you got to push it down. See, I'll set it to 2664, then to lock it. So this is the second profile, and you can run, right? Make sure you run the 3D mark on the timespy, and it doesn't crash. You can play some games, etc., just to test your voltage that is correct. Once everything is done right, then save on profile 1. Now, why do I save profile 1 and profile 5? I know profile 5 is the extreme. Profile 1 is the recommended. So at all times, let's say you don't feel that you need to boost up to the max where you play first person shooter, for example. You just want a leisure game. You can just select on profile 1, load, and this will, you know, cool down a lot on the graphic card because you pull down the voltage. And not only that, your RPM will be lower, your temperature will be lower, your card will prolong even longer. So this is actually the recommended spec, but with Undervolt. And once you have done this, right, and you feel that I just want good stats, everything when I play the first person shooting game, right, I just want everything high, then reset, click on profile 5. And we are clicking on this profile, right, because this is a safe profile. You do not need this to run at the background, as these settings here, right, are taken together with the background that's running. So it's been safe, so you don't have to worry by loading that. You don't have to. You can just reset and set the profile. At all times, right, I would recommend for after games, if you're running to the extreme, right, let's say this extreme profile, and you want to shut down your PC and such, right, I would to ask you to reset and to set it to the default recommended. So when you boot up, right, it will be the default recommended. So this will help your card. Now, as why undervoting, let me just show you something. As you know, this is the score for the undervoting, right? So I will just go online. Then let me load the default profile, which was before Undervolt. Okay, this was Undervolt, and look at the horrible lines on the graphic card. It goes up and down, and here jagged, which is not consistent. And if you were to take it online comparison, okay, the first one was the Undervolt, the second one was not Undervolt. So the default, right, if I were to look at the average clock speed, see, it's 2676. Okay, take a closer look. It's 2678, and it's not Undervolt. Else for Undervolt is 2739. Okay, let me just toggle in between. Okay, maybe I should do it properly this way. Okay, this is Undervolt 2739. This is default 2679. I mean 2676. See, big performance boost and use less power. And if you to compare the temperature, see, this is default 65 and this is Undervolt 62. And there are lots of benefit of undervolting. First, you lower down the temperature. Second, you do not take up much voltage, as in like lower down the voltage. That will save your electrical bill. Fourth, your graphic card, the fans, right, will be running at lower RPM. Fifth, it will be quiet. And sixth, which is the best part, prolonged life of your graphic card. So you see, these are all the benefits. Now, if you've been wondering throughout the whole run, right, there is this QR code on my top right hand corner. Well, there are some of the info, or to purchase the Asus Tuf 4070 Ti Super. With this said, I'd like to thank Asus to have provided 2 of the cards for me to present to you guys. And in the meantime, if you guys are new to my channel, welcome to my channel. If you like my content, do remember to subscribe and to click on the notification bell button. Till then, take care, goodbye, see ya.